Hi, welcome back to West Play's podcast. I'm your host Shannon, and today we're picking up right where we left off with Bryden from Shade Sales.
Hi again, Shannon. Good to see you. What are we talking about today?
The next question I have for you mentioned that you guys do sales and structure kits. Could you tell me a little bit about the difference between those?
Yeah, what we do is fabrics. So shade sails are a specific product, really. They are a product that has perimeter posts and you stretch fabric between them. Well, in some cases, that requires large footing, large steel, and allows for large spans. In some cases, you have limited budget, you have limited ability to build footings. So we have hip structures, which is like a framed structure that you stretch fabric over that can go over a playground or an outdoor sitting area. We have smaller quick shade kits that come as a kit. You just assemble it and put sort of a maximum 16-foot square, and again, covers over a portion of a playground. So the kits or frame structures are different from a shade sail. However, the use of fabrics is the key component that is consistent with what we do. But we provide the range of product from shade sails right through to the kits and or pre-built ones that you would assemble on your own, as opposed to having a shade sail structure. You would put posts in and then we measure the sails, whereas the kits come as an assembly. Here's your given sail size and you plunk it in the ground with less requirements for footings, etc. So it's a little less expensive and easier to work with in some cases. And depending on the needs, you might choose a kit over a free-span shade sail system.
Sure, yeah, I could definitely see like a different situation needing a different setup. We do the same thing with playground designs.
Correct.
Each project is unique.
Right. And so sometimes with a playground, you might have some height restrictions or height allowances, as you guys know too well. On platforms, you need to be 7 feet above that, any structure. So sometimes we have to allow for higher posts to accommodate for the playing platform the kids are on, so that we're clear of that. So those will, work with the playground manufacturer, West Play, to figure out what the restraints are there, and fall zones, etc. is another one. So you don't want your posts to be in 6 feet of a fall zone. So we will design the proper product, whether it be a shade kit, a free span shade sail, to allow for those considerations.
Okay. So what kind of impact can a shade have on a playground? Like when we're talking specifically about playgrounds as opposed to residential things or whatever.
Well, drastic. Usable versus not, really, is what it comes down to. So as much as we talk about the climate in Canada, and we said that it gets warm enough to be a safety hazard if you don't have shade. So, for example, metal slides or even metal on a playground in our summers can heat up drastically to the point that the kids could get injured or burnt on them. So we have been in scenarios, for example, where we had to shade a slide pretty much immediately before they could open the playground. So safety is a major concern. So they can make major differences. So when you put shade over that, the temperature difference can be 20 degrees under the shade sail. So it becomes a usable space as opposed to a safety hazard. And almost in some cases, in the case of the slide example, that they weren't able to open without a proper shade for the slides. So the kids obviously don't get hurt. I mean, it becomes a bit of a liability issue for the cities or municipalities as well.
Sure, yeah. Like the area that I'm most familiar with down in lower BC gets a lot of rain. I imagine the right type of shade would also make a playground usable on those days?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, in the cases of the coast, like you're talking about, you kind of get the double effect there. One, you get the days where you need the shade, and then of course as spring comes on and fall comes on, depending on the season you're in, it gets wet. So now you're not able to use an area potentially without a coverage. So we do offer a light, it's basically a coated shade cloth that also offers a waterproof. It's a fantastic option. I mean, it looks visually, aesthetically the same as a shade sail, except it's waterproof. So it's a great option for seasonal waterproof and shade. And then you could get into an all-season structure which allows for snow. But those are less popular only because they're more expensive. So the lightweight waterproof is a great option.
Talking about how it shields the playground from weather and environmental conditions, I realize this may not be something that's been tested, but I imagine that might extend the life of the playground. Would you think so?
Oh, yes. I mean, it's the sun, especially in places like Australia, but certainly here. I mean, we can see from how it affects your furniture and how it affects your plastics, chairs and such. So yes, it extends the length of anything that's shaded. Absolutely. And, in the case of wood, it certainly at least deals with discoloring and plastic as well. So the shade cloth itself, whether we're using kits or free span shade sails, is very, very durable and lasts many, many years. And as you say, it will also then relate down to the things that it's covering and extend the life.
That's super interesting to think about. Like, it seems like it would have a lot of benefits beyond just the obvious keeping it cool.
Yes, and beyond the safety of the kids, etc. Absolutely. There are other auxiliary benefits for sure.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so that's it for this segment. Thank you, Bryden.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon.
Yeah.
Look forward to the next segment.
Yeah, me too.
If you have questions or comments about the podcast, please email me at shannon@westplay.ca. If you'd like to know more about shades for home, playground, or other facilities, please reach out to operations@westplay.ca or call 604-424-4168. Background music is from silvermansound.com, Outdoors in Summer by Shane Ivers.